Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the TCM community. We have a special gift for you on World Acupuncture Day today. I'm here with Dr. James Flowers, my good friend James Flowers from Korea, and he was telling me he gave me the premise of this really interesting historical story about South Korean king, right?
Oh, Korean king. That time Korea was.
Yeah, Korean. Sorry, yeah, sorry. Yeah, and but he was just about to start this story, and so I want to share this with you for World Acupuncture Day. So yeah, go ahead. You were telling me about.
So we have the story of a Korean king. His name is
Mhm.
Injo. He was king in the 1600s, so 17th century. So, so in that time, Korea was under attack from the Jurchens, who later became the Manchus. So it was not a peaceful time. But in any case, he had a lot of problems, political problems, but he became very sick. Story goes that the palace, many people believed that he had been cursed. They didn't know who cursed him, but they suspect it was someone in the relative in his own family. Anyway, he became very sick, and then he tried all the treatments like not Chinese, Korean medicine, herbal medicine,
Yeah.
acupuncture. And then, so just to summarize, the story goes that he called upon an acupuncturist from outside the palace. So there were two or three interesting aspects here. So the first aspect is that all the herbal medicines that the palace doctors prescribed didn't really help him at all. So he tried a lot of ginseng, and they diagnosed him with deficiency of qi. Then they thought, well, its deficiency is causing a lot of dampness, and he had a lot of retained fluids in the body. And so
Mm.
they gave a lot of tonifying herbs. But in any case, then he started feeling heat. And then they thought, oh, he's got lots of fire because he's so stressed, and so he's very, very worried about his political situation. So then they started to try to treat his heat, but none of that worked, right? Because these are the official doctors. And then they thought that his auntie, or the queen mother's name is Inmok, they thought that she had cursed him. But in any case, he
Mm.
was in his 40s and 50s, and he had lots of diarrhea, colds, general weakness. He became very skinny and very tired. They tried moxibustion, acupuncture with all the official doctors. Finally, they found this doctor from the countryside. So this guy's name is Lee Hyung-ik. Lee Hyung-ik. We don't know much about him, but we know that he was not an official acupuncturist, but someone recommended him from a small town in the countryside. And
Mm.
the king was really not really trusting this and thinking, who is this guy? We don't really know him, but someone said you should try. Anyway, so this acupuncturist came to the palace, the capital, and gave him treatment. So the nub of the story is that this acupuncturist, Lee Hyung-ik, cured him and helped him. He was very, very happy with this guy. But then the story is that the other doctors were really jealous, and they didn't believe this, because Lee Hyung-ik, he said definitely it is the king's disease was caused by possession, by spirits, because of the
Mm.
curse. And then he gave some special treatment, and then his treatments were different from the other doctors. So we have some of the points that he used. So he actually drew on Sun Miao's ghost points, some of them. So he was
Yeah,
using
that's
Sun
right.
Miao's ghost points, and these worked. And then he also used lots of hot needles. So he'd burn the needle and insert
Like
the needle when they were hot in flame,
fire needling.
fire needles. So he did fire
Mm.
needles, and he thought that would get rid of the ghosts, the spirits. And then he used lots of moxibustion And then he did lots of lots of moxibustion, lots of fire needles. In any case, so he got better, but then because all the other officials were thinking this is not really good because this guy is not famous. Who is this guy? He doesn't have a qualification. And so what happened was that then he had to sneak in the doctor at night, even though he's the king. The officials were a bit worried that the king's getting into this black magic stuff and doing lots of funny moxibustion. And so he used to smuggle the acupuncturists at night. And then we know this because he recorded this in his diary that he did this secret. He asked his guards to bring in this acupuncturist, and we don't know what happened to that acupuncturist after that, but that is basically the story. I wrote an academic paper about it, but I've just summarized the story. But the other interesting point, I want to make 2 points. So the first point is that most of the texts that we read about acupuncture and Korean traditional medicine, they don't talk about the spirits and ghosts too much. They kind of might mention it, but it's not the main thing. And obviously that this kind of upset the other doctors. That's one thing. The second point I wanted to make is that this is really different from what was happening in the palace, the royal palace in China, because I think most of us might be aware that in the Qing Empire in China, the Qing emperors didn't like acupuncture. And so the narrative that goes around is say that the Qing actually banned acupuncture, but that's not really true because people still did acupuncture. Of course they did. But what it meant was the Qing said, we don't want acupuncture in the palace. They were fine with herbal medicines and stuff, but not acupuncture. So what is interesting here is that we know that in the Korean case, in the Korean palace, that acupuncture is still very, very, very widely used.
It's a great story, but this is really based on facts. Also, it's based on notes from the king and at that
it's actual
time.
Facts. We have
It's
the
actually
record.
wow.
We have the records, official records of the palace, official records of palace. This is where it's from. It's called the Daily Records of the Royal Secretariat of the Chosun Dynasty. So the palace had scribes. There were people whose job was to just write down everything that happened and write down everything that happened, including
of course.
medical treatments. So those they exist online, but you have to be able to read Chinese to read them. But they exist. No one's translated them to English, but they're all there. So we have them for several hundred years. So the Korean
This would make a great movie.
A great movie.
Yeah, or a TV series.
That's what I was telling Korean friends about. They should have more movies about that. I actually always say that.
So you wrote this is also from an excerpt that you wrote.
So it's a presentation. I never published this because it's just I presented it at a conference once in more than 10 years ago, and I've never come back to it since. I thought,
but this is really nice especially because it's World Acupuncture Day and not just herbal medicine or whatever. It's Acupuncture Day. This shows the power also of the combination, but the power of acupuncture. No, thank you very much for sharing this wonderful story with us, and we'll hope to see you here next time on the TCM community.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for asking me. Yeah, great talking to you.
Bye.
Bye.